Well, I suppose it's about time for me to do another video. I'm still off the trail. I'm still here in San Miguel de Allende taking care of the business that I needed to get off the trail to take care of. But the good news there is that things are going quite well there. I still don't know when I might be getting back on the trail, but things are looking much better. But today I thought I would do a video about dogs on the trail. I saw quite a few dogs on the trail during the, 530 miles that I had hiked. Lots of people out there with dogs. And, you know, I'm a dog person too. I've got a couple of pups actually that were quite small when I left them back in March when I started the trail, and now they're really large. So, yeah, I'm definitely a dog person. And there are actually lots of dogs on the trail, a lot more than I thought I would see, and with varying degrees of appropriateness or success on the trail. There were a couple of dogs. Probably the dog that I ran into the most was with a hiker, Da Vinci, and his dog Nero. Nero was very well trained and would come, you know, when Da Vinci would call her, and a nice dog to share the trail with. Unfortunately, there were some other dogs that really should not have been on the trail. So, but I remember back, you know, when I first learned about, this is over 20 years ago, when I first learned about the Appalachian Trail and started thinking about the possibility of me hiking it. I had a dog, his name was Smudge, and we would, I lived in central Minnesota there, right on the Mississippi River, the upper Mississippi River. And Smudge and I, we would go out on little day hikes, and there was a place where we would camp on a creek that fed into the Mississippi River, and we loved to go canoeing, and Smudge loved swimming and chasing the ducks and being out in nature. And so I thought about, you know, maybe it'd be fun to do the Appalachian Trail with Smudge. So I started doing a little research on it, and you definitely need to prepare your dog if you're going to be taking your dog on the trail. So, but like I said, Nero was a great dog, and there were a couple of other really nice dogs that I met on the trail. But there were other dogs, however, that had not been trained for the trail. And one actually really bad experience that I had with somebody. And, you know, I hate to criticize. This was a rescue dog, evidently, because evidently, as I found out after I had encountered the dog, that the dog had just been rescued less than 3 months ago. And the owner didn't really know the dog that well. And it was really crazy for them to be out on the trail, especially off a leash, with a dog like that. And anyway, I was at if you're familiar with mile 300 going north, mile 300 on the Appalachian Trail, it's very, it's at a peak, and it's very rocky, large boulders that you're literally climbing over, kind of dangerous, especially, you know, when you're my age, and it's tough keeping your balance when you've got a 30-pound pack on your back. Kind of dangerous. But anyway, I'm climbing up these rocks, and all of a sudden this dog comes running towards me. And, you know, I'm a dog person, and I thought, well, here's a dog somebody has on the trail. It's not on a leash, so it must be well trained. And I start to talk to the dog, and then shortly after I start talking to the dog, the man appears, and he says, "Don't talk to her because you know." He says, I've only had her 3 months. And this dog is going crazy and barking and snapping at me and being very aggressive. And this dog definitely should have been on a leash, but I didn't really say anything. And he kind of, you know, got it, I guess, kind of under control, but it kept circling me and barking around me and being very aggressive towards me. And I eventually, I actually ended up getting off the trail. Evidently, I missed a blaze or something, you know, on the rocks. And at one point, what I thought was the trail turned into be something that just didn't really seem to be like the trail. So I got out my far out checked my location, and indeed I was off the trail. So this dog had kind of distracted me and caused me to get off the trail, and I actually had to sort of bushwhack, although boulder whack, up a pretty steep incline to get back where the far out was telling me the trail was. And then once I got up there, guess who was there to greet me? That very same dog, barking and being aggressive and snapping at me. And so I'm trying to navigate these boulders and climbing up and down and very treacherous part of the trail. And I fall, actually. And, you know, I'll you know, well, the only time I'd fallen on the trail, but this time I'm going to blame it on that dog. So eventually then the owner shows up again, and then I tell him, listen, you know, I really appreciate you rescuing a dog. I think it's great that you've given this dog a home and all that. But if you've only had this dog for 3 months, you shouldn't be out here on the Appalachian Trail with him, and you definitely should have him on a leash, especially when you see other people approaching. And, you know, I think this guy, not only was he a kind of a new dog owner, he wasn't a through hiker either. I think he was just out turns out he was with his wife in addition to the dog, and I think they were just doing a small section. They ended up camping the very same night at the same place I was camping. And lots of other people had encountered the dog as well. But this is, you know, that's an example of a really inappropriate way to bring a dog on the trail. And then there were other instances where people, you know, were bringing their dogs out on the trail. They weren't necessarily, in fact, they were quite friendly dogs, but they just weren't, you know, prepared for the trail. Either they were too old or not in the proper condition for being on the trail. I don't know if you can hear my dogs sort of playing right now. Yep, they're back there playing. Anyway, you know, and some dogs actually getting lost. You'd see notifications of, you know, lost dog, have you seen this dog on the trail and stuff like that. So you really got to think of there's my dogs. You got to think of the well-being of your dogs before you decide to take them on the trail. So yeah, I am a dog person, and you know, as I said, I sort of reluctantly adopted a couple of little pups that I had actually just been fostering for a while, right before I got on the trail, actually, and I was really reluctant to do that, but you know, I was concerned about the fate of these little pups, and so I now have them. But they were tiny little girls when I first adopted them and left back in March on the trail. But you know, when I got home, they've grown quite a bit. So, but they've, despite the fact that I left them at home, they've so they sort of had their say about my time on the Appalachian Trail. I was, I actually was in Damascus. By the time I'd gotten into Damascus, the hiking shoes that I had, some Topos, I had already had a few miles on those shoes anyway, and by the time I got to Damascus, it was time to replace them. So I replaced them with another pair of Topos, and they were relatively new because Damascus is, I'm not sure, 400 and something, almost. It was just a few days before I ended up having to get off the trail at mile 530. So I only had, you know, a few miles on these shoes, and the other day, and I should have known better since I've got pups. I ended up leaving them out where they could get them, and so my essentially brand new, with just a few miles of wear on. In fact, you can see the tread is hardly worn at all on these things. However, one of them managed to find them, and not only you know, chew up one of the shoes, but they even got into the brand new pair of features that I got to go along with them. So yeah, you got to be thinking about your dogs, even when you're not on the trail. They can impact your hiking experience. So yeah, so those of you, my fellow dog owners out there, and those of you who are not, you know, happy trails, and hopefully I'll see you back out there on the trail before too long. And there they are barking again.